What if everything you've been chasing so hard, love, success, peace, happiness, was never meant to be caught through chasing at all? What if the very act of running after it is exactly what's pushing it further away? Stay with me, because I'm about to show you why the moment you stop chasing and start truly living, everything you've been searching for finally has the space to find you instead. Let's start with something most people never fully understand until much later in life. There's a strange, almost paradoxical truth about chasing anything. The harder you chase, the further it often seems to move away from you. This applies to love, success, peace, happiness, even simple things like sleep or creativity. Desperation has an energy of its own, and that energy tends to push away the very things we're trying so hard to pull closer. Think about moments in your own life when you wanted something so badly, a relationship, an opportunity, approval from someone, and the more you pursued it, the more it seemed to slip through your fingers. Now think about times when you let go completely, stopped forcing an outcome, and somehow, unexpectedly, things aligned in ways you never could have planned. This isn't coincidence. It's a pattern that repeats itself throughout life, again and again, for almost everyone who's honest enough to notice it. Chasing comes from a place of lack, a belief that you don't currently have what you need, and that only by aggressively pursuing something external can you finally feel complete, secure, or happy. This energy of lack, even when hidden beneath confidence or determination, often creates tension, urgency, and an underlying anxiety that others can sense, even if they can't quite name what feels off about the interaction or pursuit. Living, on the other hand, comes from a completely different place: presence, contentment with where you currently are, while remaining open to growth and possibility. When you live fully, rather than chase desperately, you create an entirely different energy, one of ease, confidence, and genuine openness. And ironically, this energy is precisely what tends to attract the very things you once tried so hard to chase. This doesn't mean abandoning effort, ambition, or genuine desire for growth and improvement. It means shifting the energy behind that effort, moving from desperate pursuit toward grounded, intentional living, trusting that as you focus on becoming genuinely fulfilled and present in your own life, the right people, opportunities, and experiences naturally find their way toward you, rather than requiring you to chase them down through anxious, exhausting pursuit. Over the next several parts, we're going to explore exactly how to make this shift, from chasing to living, and why this single change might be the most important transformation you ever make in your entire life. Let's talk now about something important: understanding why chasing feels so natural and instinctive to most people, even though it often works against us, because recognizing this pattern helps you consciously interrupt it when it arises in your own life. From a young age, many of us are taught, directly or indirectly, that we must actively pursue everything we want. Good grades require studying hard. Career success requires networking and pushing forward. Even love, in many cultures, gets portrayed as something you must actively win, pursue, and prove yourself worthy of receiving. This constant messaging creates a deep, often unconscious belief that nothing good comes without aggressive pursuit and effort. While effort and genuine dedication certainly matter in many areas of life, this belief often becomes distorted into something unhealthy: a compulsive need to control outcomes, force timelines, and desperately pursue specific results, rather than trusting a more natural, aligned unfolding of events. This distortion often stems from deeper insecurity, a fear that if you don't chase hard enough, you'll be left with nothing, that opportunities and good things in life are scarce, and only through relentless pursuit can you secure your share. This scarcity-based thinking creates significant anxiety and exhaustion. You find yourself constantly striving, rarely present, always focused on the next thing to chase, the next goal to achieve, the next person to win over. Even when you achieve something you were chasing, this satisfaction often feels brief, quickly replaced by anxiety about the next thing you need to pursue, since the underlying scarcity belief never genuinely resolves through external achievement alone. Living, by contrast, requires trusting in abundance rather than scarcity, believing that good things, genuine love, meaningful opportunities, authentic peace, aren't limited resources you must desperately fight and chase to secure, but rather natural results of living authentically, presently, and with genuine alignment to your own values and inner truth. This shift from scarcity to abundance thinking doesn't happen overnight, particularly if scarcity-based chasing has been your default pattern for most of your life. It requires consciously recognizing when you're operating from fear and lack, rather than genuine presence and trust, and gradually practicing this different way of engaging with your goals, relationships, and overall life experience. As you continue developing awareness around this pattern, recognizing when chasing behavior stems from underlying fear or scarcity thinking, you create valuable opportunity to consciously shift toward the more grounded, present, and ultimately more effective approach of living authentically, rather than continuing the exhausting, often counterproductive cycle of constant chasing and pursuit. Let's talk now about how this pattern specifically shows up in relationships. Because chasing love or connection almost always produces the opposite result of what we're genuinely hoping to create. Think about how differently people respond to someone who's desperately seeking validation, approval, or affection, compared to someone who's genuinely secure and content within themselves. Desperation, even when well-intentioned, often creates a subtle but noticeable energy of neediness, anxiety, or excessive eagerness, qualities that, rather than attracting genuine connection, often unconsciously push people away or attract others who are drawn specifically to exploit this neediness for their own benefit. This is why chasing someone romantically, constantly reaching out, trying to prove your worth, adjusting yourself to please them, desperately seeking their approval or attention, so often fails to create the genuine connection you're hoping for. This chasing energy communicates an underlying insecurity, a belief that you need this person's approval or attention in order to feel complete or worthy, an energy that most people instinctively sense and often find unattractive, regardless of how much they might otherwise appreciate your genuine qualities. Living authentically, by contrast, means engaging in relationships from a place of wholeness, rather than desperate need. This means genuinely enjoying your own life, maintaining your own interests, friendships, and sense of purpose, rather than making someone else the sole focus of your attention and validation. When you approach relationships from this grounded, secure place, you naturally become more attractive, not through calculated strategy, but simply because genuine security and self-contained happiness are qualities that people are naturally drawn toward. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally distant or refusing genuine vulnerability and connection within relationships. It means releasing the desperate chasing energy, the constant need for reassurance, the willingness to abandon your own boundaries or authentic self, simply to secure someone else's affection or approval. Genuine connection requires vulnerability and openness, but this vulnerability comes from a place of security, rather than desperate neediness or fear-based chasing. This principle applies whether you're single and seeking a new relationship, or already within an existing partnership. Continuing to live fully, maintaining your own identity, interests, and sense of purpose, rather than making your partner your entire source of validation and happiness, creates healthier, more sustainable, and ultimately more fulfilling relationships than those built on desperate chasing or excessive need for approval and reassurance. As you continue releasing this chasing energy within your romantic relationships and connections, you'll likely notice significant positive shift, both in how others respond to you and in the overall quality and authenticity of the connections you attract and maintain throughout your life. Let's talk now about how this same pattern shows up specifically around career and financial success, because chasing money or achievement often creates significant stress and even prevents the very success you're desperately pursuing. Many people approach their careers and financial goals from a place of chasing, constantly striving, comparing themselves to others, pushing forward with anxious urgency, believing that only through relentless pursuit can they achieve the success and security they desire. This chasing energy often creates significant stress, burnout, and paradoxically, can actually hinder genuine success, since decisions made from anxious desperation rarely produce the same quality of results as decisions made from calm, clear, strategic thinking. Think about how differently you perform, whether in a job interview, a business negotiation, or a creative project, when you're operating from calm confidence, compared to when you're desperately anxious about the outcome. Desperation often creates poor decision-making, clouded judgment, and an energy that others, including potential employers, clients, or business partners, often unconsciously sense and respond to negatively, even if they can't quite articulate exactly what feels off about the interaction. Living authentically in your career means focusing on genuine mastery, authentic contribution, and meaningful work, rather than desperately chasing external markers of success purely for validation or security. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition or genuine effort toward your goals. It means shifting the underlying energy and motivation, moving from anxious, comparison-driven chasing toward grounded, intentional pursuit of work and success that genuinely aligns with your authentic values, skills, and purpose. This shift often paradoxically leads toward greater success, since work created from genuine passion, calm confidence, and authentic alignment typically produces higher quality results than work driven purely by anxious desperation or comparison to others' achievements. Additionally, people are naturally drawn toward working with, hiring, or doing business with individuals who project genuine confidence and calm competence, rather than desperate neediness or anxious urgency. This doesn't mean success happens without effort or genuine dedication. It means the underlying energy behind that effort shifts significantly, from desperate chasing driven by fear and scarcity toward grounded, intentional pursuit driven by genuine passion, authentic purpose, and calm confidence in your own abilities and worth, independent of any single specific outcome or achievement. As you continue releasing this chasing energy, specifically within your career and financial goals, you'll likely notice significant positive shift, both in your overall stress levels and daily experience of your work, and often in the actual quality and success of the opportunities and results you ultimately attract and create throughout your professional life. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how chasing happiness itself, ironically, often prevents you from actually experiencing genuine happiness and contentment in your daily life. Many people approach happiness as something to be achieved through future accomplishments, believing they'll finally be happy once they reach a certain goal, acquire a certain possession, or arrive at a specific life circumstance. This constant future-focused chasing of happiness often means you're never fully present or content in your current moment, always postponing genuine happiness until some future condition is met, a pattern that, ironically, often prevents happiness from ever being genuinely experienced at all. This happens because happiness, genuine, lasting happiness, isn't actually found through external achievement or acquisition. It's found through your relationship with the present moment, your ability to find genuine appreciation, contentment, and peace within your current circumstances, rather than constantly postponing this experience until some future condition is satisfied. Think about how often you've achieved something you were certain would finally bring lasting happiness: a promotion, a relationship, a specific possession, only to find that the happiness you experienced was brief, quickly replaced by new goals, new things to chase, new conditions you believed needed to be met before you could finally feel genuinely happy and content. This pattern, chasing happiness through external achievement, often creates an endless cycle, never allowing genuine, lasting contentment to develop. Living authentically means shifting this relationship with happiness, choosing to genuinely appreciate and find contentment within your current life circumstances, even while continuing to grow, pursue meaningful goals, and work toward positive change. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to feel happy despite genuine difficulty or hardship. It means developing genuine presence and appreciation for the positive aspects of your current life, rather than constantly postponing this appreciation until some future condition is met. This shift often involves practicing genuine gratitude, mindfulness, and presence, consciously choosing to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of your current life, relationships, and daily experiences, rather than constantly focusing on what's still missing or what future achievement might finally provide the happiness you're seeking. As you continue developing this genuine presence and appreciation for your current life, rather than constantly chasing happiness through future achievement, you'll likely notice a significant shift in your overall daily experience, moving toward genuine contentment and joy that isn't dependent on constantly achieving new goals or acquiring new things, but rather flows naturally from your own internal relationship with presence, gratitude, and authentic appreciation for your life, exactly as it currently exists. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding the specific practice of surrender, releasing your desperate grip on controlling outcomes, and how this practice directly supports the shift from chasing toward genuinely living. Surrender, in this context, doesn't mean giving up on your goals or becoming passive about your life direction. It means releasing the exhausting need to control every detail, timeline, and outcome, trusting instead that as you show up authentically and take genuine, aligned action, the results will unfold in their own time and way, rather than requiring your constant anxious control and forceful manipulation of every circumstance. This practice of surrender often feels uncomfortable initially, particularly if you're accustomed to believing that only through constant control and forceful pursuit can you achieve what you want. But genuine surrender actually creates significant relief and peace, releasing the exhausting burden of believing you alone must control every outcome, every timeline, every detail of how your life unfolds. Practicing surrender might involve consciously releasing anxious thoughts about specific outcomes, particularly when you notice yourself becoming excessively attached to controlling exactly how or when something should happen. This might sound like internally acknowledging, "I've done what I can, and now I release the need to control exactly how this unfolds," allowing yourself to trust the process, rather than continuing anxious, forceful attempts at control. This doesn't mean abandoning genuine effort or action toward your goals. It means releasing the anxious, forceful energy behind that action, trusting that your genuine, aligned effort is enough, without requiring desperate control over every specific detail and timeline of how results ultimately unfold. This distinction between genuine effort and anxious control becomes increasingly important throughout your journey toward living authentically, rather than chasing desperately. Developing this practice of surrender often requires consistent conscious effort, particularly if anxious control has been your default pattern for much of your life. This might involve meditation, prayer, journaling, or simply consciously practicing this release whenever you notice yourself becoming excessively anxious or controlling about specific outcomes or timelines within your life. As you continue developing this practice of genuine surrender, releasing anxious control while still maintaining authentic effort and aligned action, you'll likely notice significant increase in your overall peace and ease, moving through your life with greater trust and calm, rather than the exhausting anxiety that often accompanies desperate chasing and forceful attempts at controlling every outcome and circumstance throughout your daily life and longer-term goals. Let's talk now about something meaningful, understanding how presence, genuinely engaging with your current moment, rather than constantly focused on future goals or past regrets, becomes essential for genuinely living rather than perpetually chasing. Chasing almost always involves living mentally in the future, constantly focused on what you don't yet have, what you're working to achieve, or what needs to happen before you can finally feel satisfied or complete. This constant future focus means you're rarely, if ever, fully present and engaged with your actual current life, relationships, and daily experiences, since your attention remains consistently focused on future goals and achievements you're desperately chasing. Living authentically requires developing genuine presence, consciously bringing your attention back to your current moment, your current relationships, your current experiences, rather than constantly living mentally in some future scenario you're chasing toward. This doesn't mean abandoning genuine goals or future planning. It means balancing this future orientation with genuine presence and engagement with your actual current life and experiences. This practice of presence often requires consistent, conscious effort, particularly if constant future-focused chasing has become a deeply ingrained habit. This might involve mindfulness practices, consciously engaging your senses in your immediate environment, or simply practicing genuine presence during conversations and interactions, rather than mentally planning your next move or worrying about future outcomes while physically present in a current moment or interaction. Developing this presence often creates significant positive impact on your relationships and daily experience of life. People naturally sense and appreciate genuine presence, feeling more valued and connected when someone is fully engaged with them, rather than mentally elsewhere, focused on future goals or chasing something beyond the current interaction and connection. This presence also significantly improves your own daily experience of life, allowing you to genuinely notice and appreciate the positive aspects of your current circumstances, relationships, and experiences, rather than constantly rushing through your present moment in pursuit of some future goal or achievement that you believe will finally provide genuine satisfaction and contentment. As you continue developing this genuine presence, consciously choosing to engage fully with your current life and experiences, rather than constantly living mentally in a future you're desperately chasing toward, you'll likely notice significant improvement in both your relationships and your overall daily experience of contentment, peace, and genuine engagement with the life you're actually living right now, rather than the future life you're constantly chasing and postponing genuine presence and appreciation toward. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how self-worth that doesn't depend on external achievement becomes essential for genuinely shifting from chasing toward living, since chasing so often stems from believing your worth depends on what you accomplish or acquire. Many people often unconsciously tie their sense of self-worth directly to their achievements, their career success, their relationship status, or various external markers of accomplishment. This creates a dangerous pattern, believing that you're only worthy, valuable, or acceptable once you've achieved certain external goals, a belief that drives constant, exhausting chasing, since your fundamental sense of worth remains perpetually dependent on continued external achievement and validation. This pattern means that even significant accomplishments often fail to provide lasting satisfaction or peace, since your underlying belief that you must continue achieving and acquiring in order to maintain your worth and value remains unresolved regardless of what you've already accomplished. This creates an exhausting, never-ending cycle of chasing, since no amount of external achievement can genuinely resolve an internal belief that your worth depends on continued external validation and accomplishment. Genuinely living, rather than chasing, requires developing self-worth that exists independently of external achievement or validation, recognizing your inherent worth and value simply as a human being, regardless of your current accomplishments, relationship status, or external circumstances. This shift doesn't mean abandoning genuine goals or aspirations. It means separating your fundamental sense of worth from these external pursuits, recognizing that your value as a person remains constant, regardless of what you do or don't achieve. Developing this internal, unconditional self-worth often requires significant inner work, therapy, self-reflection, and consistent practice, challenging old beliefs that tie your worth directly to external achievement or validation. This might involve consciously practicing self-compassion, recognizing your inherent worth independent of accomplishment, or simply challenging automatic thoughts that suggest you need to achieve or acquire something specific in order to be genuinely worthy or acceptable. As this internal, unconditional self-worth continues strengthening, you'll likely notice significant reduction in anxious, desperate chasing behavior, since your fundamental sense of worth no longer depends on continued external achievement or validation. This doesn't mean losing genuine ambition or motivation toward meaningful goals. It means pursuing these goals from a place of genuine desire and authentic purpose, rather than desperate need to prove or validate your worth through constant external accomplishment and achievement. As you continue developing this genuine, unconditional self-worth, you'll likely notice significant positive shift in your overall relationship with achievement, success, and personal goals, moving from anxious, exhausting chasing toward genuine, aligned pursuit that flows from authentic desire and purpose, rather than desperate need for external validation of your fundamental worth and value as a person. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how genuine trust, both in yourself and in the natural unfolding of your life, becomes an essential foundation for releasing chasing behavior and embracing genuine, present living instead. Chasing often stems from a fundamental lack of trust, distrust in your own ability to attract and create positive outcomes naturally, distrust in the timing and unfolding of your life's circumstances, and distrust that good things can come to you without desperate, forceful pursuit and control. This underlying distrust drives the anxious, exhausting chasing behavior we've discussed throughout this video. Developing genuine trust, both in yourself and in your life's natural unfolding, significantly supports your ability to release chasing and embrace authentic living instead. This trust doesn't mean passive complacency or abandoning genuine effort toward your goals. It means trusting that as you show up authentically, take genuine aligned action, and live with presence and integrity, positive outcomes will naturally unfold, without requiring the desperate, anxious control that chasing behavior typically involves. This trust often develops gradually, through consistent experience and reflection. As you begin practicing the various principles discussed throughout this video, releasing desperate chasing, developing presence, cultivating internal self-worth, and practicing surrender, you'll likely begin noticing positive experiences and outcomes that support and reinforce this growing sense of trust, creating a positive cycle where increased trust supports reduced chasing behavior, which then creates positive outcomes that further strengthen your overall trust in yourself and your life's natural unfolding. This trust also extends toward trusting your own judgment and decision-making abilities, believing in your capacity to recognize and respond appropriately to genuine opportunities as they naturally arise, rather than believing you must desperately chase and force every opportunity into existence through anxious, controlling behavior. Developing this trust often requires consciously reflecting on past experiences where positive outcomes emerged naturally, without desperate chasing or forceful control, using these experiences as evidence supporting your growing trust in yourself and your life's natural unfolding, rather than continuing to operate from the underlying distrust and fear that typically drives chasing behavior. As you continue developing this genuine trust, both in yourself and in your life's natural unfolding, you'll likely notice significant reduction in anxious chasing behavior, replaced by a more grounded, confident approach to your goals and life circumstances. Trusting that as you continue living authentically and taking genuine aligned action, the results and opportunities that genuinely belong in your life will naturally find their way toward you, without requiring the exhausting, desperate pursuit that chasing behavior typically demands. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how to recognize the specific difference between healthy, aligned effort and unhealthy, desperate chasing, since this distinction remains crucial throughout your ongoing journey toward genuinely living, rather than continuing exhausting pursuit patterns. Healthy, aligned effort typically feels grounded, even when challenging. You're working toward genuine goals, taking consistent action, while maintaining overall emotional stability and peace, even when facing obstacles or delays. This effort comes from genuine desire and purpose, rather than anxious fear or desperate need. And importantly, your overall sense of worth and well-being doesn't depend entirely on achieving this specific outcome or achieving it within a specific timeline. Desperate chasing, by contrast, typically feels anxious, urgent, and emotionally destabilizing. You might notice excessive worry about specific outcomes, difficulty maintaining peace or contentment while waiting for results, or a sense that your entire well-being and happiness depends entirely on achieving this specific goal or outcome. This chasing energy often creates significant stress and anxiety, distinct from the more grounded, peaceful energy that accompanies healthy, aligned effort. Learning to recognize this distinction within your own experience becomes an important ongoing practice. When you notice yourself feeling anxious, desperate, or emotionally destabilized about a specific goal or outcome, this often signals chasing behavior, an opportunity to consciously pause, reconnect with genuine presence and internal security, and release some of this desperate energy, even while continuing genuine, aligned effort toward your authentic goals. This doesn't mean you'll never experience any anxiety or concern about important goals and outcomes. Some level of genuine care and investment in meaningful goals is completely natural and healthy. The key distinction lies in degree and overall emotional impact. Healthy effort maintains overall emotional stability and peace, while desperate chasing significantly destabilizes your overall well-being and peace, becoming disproportionate to what genuine, healthy investment in meaningful goals typically requires. Developing this awareness and discernment, recognizing when you're operating from healthy effort versus desperate chasing, allows you to consciously adjust your approach, releasing excessive anxiety and desperate control, while still maintaining genuine dedication and aligned action toward your authentic goals and aspirations throughout your life. As you continue developing this important discernment between healthy effort and desperate chasing, you'll likely notice significant improvement in your overall emotional stability and peace, even while continuing genuine, meaningful pursuit of your goals, recognizing that authentic, aligned effort, combined with genuine trust and presence, ultimately creates far more sustainable and effective results than the exhausting, destabilizing pattern of desperate, anxious chasing. Let's talk now about something meaningful, understanding how patience becomes an essential companion to this entire shift, since releasing chasing behavior and embracing genuine living often requires significant patience, particularly when results or desired outcomes don't unfold as quickly as you might initially hope. One of the most challenging aspects of shifting from chasing toward genuine living involves developing patience, particularly during periods when you're genuinely doing the inner work discussed throughout this video, releasing anxious control, developing presence, cultivating internal self-worth, yet still waiting for specific external results or outcomes to unfold in your life. This patience requires trusting the process, even without immediate, visible proof that releasing chasing behavior is genuinely working or creating positive change in your life. This can feel particularly difficult, since our natural instinct often craves immediate, tangible evidence that our efforts are creating genuine positive results, rather than continuing to trust an internal process whose external results might take considerable time to fully manifest and become visible. Developing this patience often requires shifting your definition of progress, recognizing that genuine transformation, moving from chasing toward authentic living, represents significant progress in itself, even before specific external results or outcomes become visible. The internal peace, presence, and security you're developing through this ongoing practice represents genuine, valuable progress, regardless of whether specific external goals have yet been achieved or realized. This patience also involves releasing rigid timelines and expectations about exactly when and how positive results should unfold in your life. Genuine living, rather than desperate chasing, often means releasing this need for control over specific timing, trusting instead that as you continue this authentic inner work, positive results will unfold in their own natural timing, rather than according to your own anxious, forced timeline and expectations. It's also helpful to remember that this shift from chasing toward living represents an ongoing journey and practice, rather than a destination you achieve once and then maintain perfectly and effortlessly forever afterward. You'll likely continue experiencing moments where old chasing patterns resurface, particularly during stressful or uncertain periods, and this represents normal, expected experience throughout this ongoing journey, rather than failure or lack of genuine progress. As you continue developing this patience throughout your ongoing journey, trusting the internal transformation and progress you're genuinely creating, even without immediate, visible external proof or results, you'll likely notice increasing peace and stability throughout this process, recognizing that genuine, lasting transformation, from chasing toward authentic living, requires this patient, ongoing commitment, rather than expecting immediate, dramatic results after simply understanding these principles intellectually. Let's talk now about something powerful, understanding how releasing comparison to others becomes essential throughout this journey. Since comparing your own timeline, progress, or circumstances to others often triggers renewed chasing behavior, undermining your progress toward genuine, authentic living. In today's world, particularly with constant social media exposure, it's incredibly easy to compare your own life circumstances, achievements, relationships, or timeline to others around you, or to curated images of success and happiness presented online. This constant comparison often triggers renewed anxiety and chasing behavior, believing you must catch up to or match others' apparent achievements or timeline, rather than trusting your own authentic, unique life path and natural unfolding. This comparison creates significant obstacles to genuine living, since it pulls your attention away from genuine presence and appreciation for your own unique life and circumstances, redirecting your focus toward anxious comparison and desperate pursuit of matching or exceeding others' apparent achievements or circumstances, a pattern that directly contradicts the authentic living and presence we've been discussing throughout this video. Releasing this comparison requires consciously recognizing when you're engaging in this pattern and deliberately redirecting your attention back toward your own authentic path, values, and genuine appreciation for your unique life circumstances, rather than continuing to measure your worth or progress against others' seemingly different and often only partially visible life circumstances and achievements. It's also helpful to remember that what you see of others' lives, particularly through social media, or casual observation, represents only a small, often curated portion of their genuine experience. Many people who appear to have achieved significant success or happiness likely face their own private struggles, delays, and challenges that simply aren't visible in the limited glimpses you're comparing yourself against. Developing genuine appreciation for your own unique path, rather than constantly comparing yourself to others, might involve limiting social media exposure, particularly during periods when you notice comparison significantly triggering renewed anxiety or chasing behavior. Practicing consistent gratitude specifically for your own unique life circumstances and progress, or simply consciously reminding yourself that your journey, timeline, and path are genuinely unique, not requiring comparison or measurement against anyone else's different individual life circumstances. As you continue releasing this pattern of comparison, redirecting your attention and energy back toward genuine appreciation and presence within your own unique life and journey, you'll likely notice significant reduction in comparison-triggered chasing behavior, supporting your continued progress toward authentic, present living, rather than the exhausting, anxious pursuit that comparison to others so often triggers and reinforces throughout your ongoing life journey. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how this shift from chasing to living directly transforms your relationship with waiting periods, those inevitable seasons of life when you're genuinely doing the inner work, yet still waiting for specific external circumstances to unfold or change. Waiting periods often represent some of the most challenging aspects of shifting from chasing toward genuine living, since these periods require sustained patience and trust, without the immediate gratification or control that chasing behavior typically seeks to provide. Learning to navigate these waiting periods with genuine peace, rather than anxious chasing or desperate attempts to force premature outcomes, becomes an essential skill throughout this ongoing journey. Rather than viewing waiting periods as wasted or frustrating time, standing between you and your genuine goals, try viewing these periods as valuable opportunities for continued growth, healing, and deepening your practice of authentic presence and internal security. Often, these waiting periods serve important purposes, whether preparing you more fully for what's coming, allowing necessary healing or growth to occur, or simply teaching you the patience and trust that ultimately support more sustainable, genuine success and fulfillment. This doesn't mean waiting periods are always comfortable or easy. They can feel genuinely difficult, particularly when you're uncertain about timing or outcomes, and continuing to trust the process requires ongoing conscious effort and practice. But choosing to engage with these waiting periods through genuine presence and continued inner work, rather than anxious chasing or desperate attempts to control and force premature outcomes, ultimately creates far more sustainable results than continuing exhausting, anxious pursuit throughout these natural waiting seasons of life. During these periods, continuing to practice the various principles discussed throughout this video, presence, internal self-worth, genuine trust, and patience, becomes particularly valuable, helping you navigate these waiting seasons with greater peace and stability, rather than becoming consumed by anxious chasing or desperate attempts to force outcomes before their natural, appropriate timing. It's also helpful to use these waiting periods intentionally, continuing genuine growth, self-care, and meaningful engagement with your current life and circumstances, rather than simply existing in a state of anxious waiting, focused entirely on some future outcome you're eager to achieve. This intentional engagement with your current waiting period, rather than treating it as merely an obstacle to rush through, supports genuine presence and living, even during these naturally challenging seasons of uncertainty and anticipation. As you continue developing this healthier relationship with waiting periods, trusting the process and remaining genuinely present, rather than defaulting back into anxious chasing behavior, you'll likely notice significant improvement in your overall peace and stability, even during genuinely uncertain or challenging waiting seasons throughout your ongoing life journey. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how genuine gratitude specifically supports and reinforces this entire shift from chasing toward authentic living, since gratitude naturally redirects your focus toward appreciation for your current life, rather than constant focus on what you're still chasing or lacking. Gratitude and chasing represent fundamentally opposing energies. Chasing focuses entirely on what's missing, what you don't yet have, what needs to change before you can finally feel satisfied or complete. Gratitude, by contrast, focuses on genuine appreciation for what already exists in your life, your current relationships, experiences, opportunities, and blessings, regardless of what additional goals or achievements you might still be working toward. Consistently practicing genuine gratitude significantly supports your ongoing shift toward authentic living, since this practice naturally redirects your attention and energy away from anxious chasing and lack-focused thinking, toward genuine appreciation and presence within your current life circumstances. This doesn't mean abandoning genuine goals or aspirations. It means balancing this future-oriented pursuit with consistent, genuine appreciation for your current life and circumstances. This practice might involve daily gratitude reflection, journaling specific things you're genuinely grateful for, or simply pausing regularly throughout your day to consciously notice and appreciate positive aspects of your current life and circumstances. Over time, this consistent practice gradually shifts your overall mental and emotional focus, moving away from constant chasing and lack-focused thinking toward genuine appreciation and contentment within your present life and experience. This gratitude practice also significantly supports the internal self-worth discussed earlier throughout this video, since genuine gratitude naturally reinforces recognition of your current blessings and worth, independent of additional future achievement or acquisition. This creates a positive reinforcing cycle. Gratitude supports internal security and self-worth, which then naturally reduces anxious chasing behavior, creating space for even deeper gratitude and appreciation for your unfolding life journey. It's important to understand that practicing gratitude doesn't mean denying genuine desires for growth, change, or achievement of meaningful goals. It means balancing this genuine aspiration with consistent appreciation for your current life, recognizing that both genuine gratitude for your present circumstances and authentic pursuit of meaningful future goals can genuinely coexist, rather than requiring you to choose exclusively between contentment and continued growth and aspiration. As you continue developing this consistent gratitude practice alongside the other principles discussed throughout this video, you'll likely notice significant strengthening in your overall shift from chasing toward authentic living, experiencing increased peace, presence, and genuine appreciation for your unfolding life journey, rather than the constant, exhausting focus on lack and pursuit that chasing behavior typically demands and reinforces throughout your daily life and experience. Let's talk now about something essential: understanding how this entire shift from chasing to living ultimately transforms not just what you attract into your life, but who you fundamentally become throughout this ongoing journey and process of authentic growth and transformation. Throughout this video, we've explored numerous interconnected principles: releasing scarcity-based chasing, developing genuine presence, cultivating internal self-worth, practicing surrender and trust, releasing comparison, navigating waiting periods with patience, and consistently practicing gratitude. Together, these principles create comprehensive, genuine transformation, not simply in what external circumstances you attract, but in your fundamental relationship with yourself and your life experience. This transformation ultimately means becoming someone who moves through life with genuine peace, security, and presence, rather than anxious, exhausting pursuit and control. You become someone whose happiness and sense of worth no longer depends entirely on achieving specific external outcomes, but rather flows naturally from your internal relationship with yourself, your genuine presence, and your authentic appreciation for your unfolding life journey. This doesn't mean you stop having genuine goals, dreams, or aspirations. It means you pursue these authentic desires from a completely different internal place: security rather than desperation, presence rather than constant future focus, trust rather than anxious control, gratitude rather than constant focus on lack. This fundamental shift in your internal relationship with your goals and life circumstances ultimately creates far more sustainable, genuine fulfillment than the exhausting cycle of chasing ever could provide. As you continue this ongoing journey, remember that this transformation happens gradually, through consistent practice and patience, rather than through immediate, dramatic change after simply understanding these concepts intellectually. Each moment of conscious presence, each instance of releasing anxious chasing, each practice of genuine gratitude and trust gradually strengthens this fundamental shift throughout your continued life journey. This journey ultimately isn't about achieving perfect, permanent transformation, never experiencing any anxiety or chasing behavior ever again. It's about developing significantly greater overall peace, presence, and authentic living, even while continuing to navigate life's genuine challenges and uncertainties with far greater grace and stability than the constant, exhausting pursuit of chasing ever allowed throughout your previous experience and patterns. As you continue integrating these principles throughout your ongoing life journey, trust that this genuine transformation from chasing toward authentic living creates space for the right people, opportunities, and experiences to naturally find their way toward you, not through desperate pursuit, but through the genuine, magnetic energy that authentic presence, security, and appreciation naturally create throughout your continued life and experience. Let's talk now about something practical, understanding how to begin applying everything we've discussed today in real, tangible ways, because genuine transformation requires moving from understanding these concepts toward actually integrating them into your daily choices and habits. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight, releasing every chasing pattern all at once. Instead, choose one specific area where you notice chasing behavior most strongly, perhaps in a relationship, your career, or your relationship with happiness itself, and begin practicing conscious presence and release specifically within that one area first. Mastering this shift in even one area of your life creates momentum and confidence that naturally supports applying these same principles elsewhere. One helpful daily practice involves simply pausing a few times throughout your day to check in honestly with yourself. Ask, am I currently chasing something out of anxiety and lack, or am I living presently, trusting the natural unfolding of my life? This simple check-in, repeated consistently, gradually builds greater awareness of your own patterns, making it easier to notice and consciously shift chasing behavior whenever it arises. It's also helpful to create small, consistent rituals that reinforce presence and gratitude. A few minutes of quiet reflection each morning, a gratitude journal each evening, or simply pausing before reacting to any anxious urge to chase or force a specific outcome. These small, consistent practices, repeated daily, gradually build the internal foundation necessary for lasting transformation, rather than expecting a single moment of understanding to create permanent change. Remember also to extend yourself genuine compassion throughout this process. You'll likely notice old chasing patterns resurfacing, particularly during stressful or uncertain moments, and this is completely normal. Rather than harshly criticizing yourself for these moments, simply notice them with gentle awareness and consciously choose to return to presence and trust, again and again, as many times as necessary throughout this ongoing journey. As you continue applying these practices consistently in your daily life, you'll likely notice gradual, meaningful transformation, not through dramatic, instant change, but through the steady accumulation of countless small moments where you consciously choose presence over chasing, trust over anxious control, and genuine living over desperate pursuit. Let's talk now about something meaningful as we near the end of this journey, understanding how this shift from chasing to living ultimately becomes a lifelong practice, one that deepens and strengthens throughout every season and chapter of your life, rather than something you achieve once and maintain permanently without further effort or attention. Different seasons of life will naturally test this practice in different ways. During times of significant transition, grief, uncertainty, or major life decisions, old chasing patterns might resurface more strongly, simply because these circumstances naturally trigger deeper fears around control, security, and uncertainty. This doesn't mean you've failed or lost your progress. It simply means this particular season is inviting you to practice these principles even more consciously and intentionally. Similarly, as you achieve certain goals or reach new stages of your life, entirely new areas might reveal chasing patterns you hadn't previously noticed or needed to address. This is a natural, healthy part of ongoing growth, rather than evidence that something is wrong with your practice or progress. Each new season offers fresh opportunity to deepen your understanding and application of authentic presence, trust, and living, rather than chasing. It's also worth recognizing that this journey isn't meant to be walked entirely alone. Surrounding yourself with people who understand and support this way of living, friends, mentors, or communities who value presence and authentic growth over anxious comparison and chasing, significantly supports your continued practice and progress throughout this ongoing journey. As you continue this lifelong practice, remember that the goal was never perfection, never achieving a state where you experience zero anxiety, zero chasing, zero desire for control. The goal is genuine, ongoing growth, developing an increasingly strong foundation of presence, trust, and authentic living, one that continues supporting you through every season, challenge, and chapter your life presents. Rather than requiring flawless mastery before this practice, can genuinely benefit your daily experience and overall well-being. As you carry this understanding forward into your continued life journey, trust that each conscious choice toward presence over chasing, each moment of genuine gratitude over anxious lack, each practice of authentic trust over desperate control, continues building the foundation for a life defined by genuine peace, fulfillment, and authentic living, rather than the exhausting, endless cycle of chasing that so many people unknowingly remain trapped within throughout their entire lives. As we come to the end of this journey together, let's bring everything full circle. Everything you've been chasing so hard, love, success, peace, happiness, was never meant to be caught through desperate, anxious pursuit. It was always meant to be found through genuine, present living, through trusting yourself, trusting the natural unfolding of your life, and choosing gratitude and authentic presence over constant lack-focused striving. You've learned why chasing so often pushes away the very things you're trying to attract, and how living authentically, with genuine presence, internal self-worth, and consistent trust, creates an entirely different energy, one that naturally draws people, opportunities, and fulfillment toward you, rather than requiring exhausting pursuit and control. You've learned how this shift transforms your relationships, your career, your happiness, and your relationship with waiting and uncertainty itself. Most importantly, you've learned that this transformation isn't a single moment of realization, but an ongoing, lifelong practice, one requiring patience, self-compassion, and consistent conscious choice, again and again, throughout every season and chapter of your life. Moving forward, carry this truth with you into every goal, every relationship, every uncertain waiting period life presents. Stop chasing, start living. Trust that as you show up authentically, present, secure, and genuinely grateful for your unfolding journey, everything that's truly meant for you will find its way toward you, in its own time, in its own way, without requiring the desperate, exhausting pursuit you may have carried for far too long. If this video brought you clarity, peace, or a new way of understanding your own journey, take a moment right now. Like this video so it reaches someone else who genuinely needs to hear this today. Subscribe to this channel because this is only the beginning of the wisdom we'll continue exploring together. And leave a comment below sharing what part of this video resonated with you the most. I read every single one. This has been Master Shen. Stop chasing, start living, and I'll see you in the next one.